Any visitor to Oman will walk away with a memory of an incredible country, and one of the key things I think most people will identify pretty quickly is the incredible warmth and generosity of the Omani people, which is one of the main reasons why it's been my home for 20 or so years of my life. And I think today, which has been day 20 of the Jewel of Arabia expedition, has just been one of those days that just reminds me of what a special country this place is. It was the great desert traveller Wilfred Thesiger who once said, or wrote in Arabian Sands, his travel classic, that it's impossible to be alone for long in the Arab world. You go into a coffee shop or you go into a shop selling carpets, and the owner of the carpet shop will invite you to sit down and join him over a cup of coffee. And whilst you're having a cup of coffee in the carpet shop, in will walk someone who will join you and invite you for lunch, and over lunch someone will invite you to dinner, and so it goes. It's just incredible warmth and generosity that we have experienced from day one, really. But today was just a string of kindness and events from when we woke up. So yesterday, if you listened to the podcast yesterday was probably the most challenging day of the journey. Lots of issues with tyres, with getting stuck and trying to retrieve vehicles out of Subka, this sort of very slippery quicksand stroke mud. But today was the complete antithesis of that, really. So a beautiful campsite where we camped last night, but the wind got up in the night, so it was a windy old campsite from about 4 a.m. in the morning onwards, and that wind was quite chilly as we woke up. But amazingly clear skies, beautiful stars down to the horizon in all directions. But we started the day with a walk down this beautiful beach, which I always think is one of the most beautiful beaches in Oman. It's about 10 to 14 kilometres long, dazzling white sand, azure blue water, ospreys, if you're an ornithologist, spoonbills, bar-tailed godwits, just amazing bird life, ghost crabs in by the dozen running around. Just an amazing place, and nobody there, absolutely nobody there. Amazing archaeology all around you, amazing geology all around you. So a windy night, but a night in which we all slept really well, really heavily after the sort of rigours of the day before. But our walk along the beach took us to an old abandoned fishing village, the stone foundations of some pretty ancient buildings that have now been sort of abandoned, and a couple of shelters there that the government have put for the people to go fishing. And so we sat in the shade of one of those shelters, and there we met some lovely people. A couple of people in a Toyota Land Cruiser pulled over, wearing sort of military fatigue jackets, and charming, utterly charming. One man from Oman, one man from Kuwait, and somehow we ended up in a discussion about George Everest, the man who measured the Himalayas, the surveyor who named Everest, actually. And because the man from Kuwait was a surveyor himself, and a very knowledgeable man, knew all about Bertram Thomas, knew all about Wilfred Thesiger. And this being Oman, of course, they drive around with a flask of beautiful Omani coffee in their car. So out came the coffee, out came the little coffee cups, and there we were having a chat with these lovely people we'd never met, but they're over a coffee, which is the sort of social lubricant out here in Arabia. After we met those people, we went into the little fishing community, because we'd spotted the day before a beautiful little bay with crystal clear water and hundreds of fishing boats all lined up on the beach. And Anna wanted to try, and if the wind was gentle enough, to get her drone up to to capture that. And so we'll be sharing that on social media. So take a look at the jewelofarabia.expedition.com website, or find us on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll see some of Anna's amazing video shots and photographs a little bit later today when we've posted them this evening. So we went to the beach, and we parked the car and we walked down, and of course before long we're surrounded by people. We're sitting down with some Bengali people repairing their fishing nets, and then over comes a lovely Omani man offering us fish. Whatever fish we wanted out of his boat were ours. You know, he'd been out under that burning sun, and yet he was still very insistent that we take away some fish for our supper tonight, which was incredibly generous. And from there we thought, well, you know, after the rigours of yesterday, our spare tyre we'd strapped onto the roof rack, but we thought we'd get that fitted back onto the back door, just check the repaired tyre, and went to a little garage, and there the person refused to accept any money, as he did yesterday, but we managed to give him some food this time. He wouldn't accept anything, so we left him with some tea and some lovely Omani halwa, and he was very grateful for that. And then we drove to a community called Shalim. So after Anna had done some great drone photography, we drove for an hour and a half to a small community called Shalim, and we discovered that what was once a very remote Shell filling station has now become a bit of a hub for the local community, because a local entrepreneur has set up a really nice little speciality coffee shop in a tiny little hut on the edge of the forecourt, of the garage forecourt. And we were in the process of ordering 5 coffees when a Toyota Land Cruiser pulled up with an Omani gentleman inside. The window came down and he got into a conversation with Ibrahim and Dhikra, and within a couple of minutes it was clear that this was the man who owned this little coffee shop. Inside the coffee shop was a guy from Nigeria serving the food, and he was quite a character. But the man who owns the coffee shop, the local Omani entrepreneur, insisted, so we were just about to pay for 5 coffees, but he would have absolutely none of it, and insisted that he pay for all of our coffees, and that they were on the house, which was, you know, yet another example of people here just being so incredibly generous and kind. So we left Shalim full of caffeine just to get us to the end of the day, and we descended an incredibly steep track down to this enormous bay called within which there's a little community called Shwemia. And so we're camped just inland from the coast again. We're camped under the shade of a beautiful large acacia tree in a flat plain. If the wind drops, which we hope it will, and it tends to as the evening goes on, then I think we're in for a lovely night. At the end of the beach here, the Emir of Kuwait has a beautiful palace tucked in at the end. There's no other house for many kilometres, so we just drove up and had a look at that, which is a beautiful place, and then retreated up here to find a campsite before the sun went down, which it did so about an hour ago. So I'm just sitting under the shade of this tree. I've been out, I've put the camera trap out. Last night we had another fox, which was great, and some little gerbils, desert gerbils, and we'll try and post those onto social media in the next couple of days. There's so much to share, actually, that we're struggling to keep up with it all. But a great tonic today after the challenges of yesterday, and a great reminder of what makes this amazing country called Oman so special. And it's the people, and it's the place. We've walked for 2 hours along a white sandy beach today without seeing a single other person, without seeing a single other footprint. We then ascended up onto a rocky plateau. We've descended through some incredible geology back down to the coast, and we'll be posting some pictures of that. And here we are now under a beautiful acacia tree. So incredible variety of landscape and biodiversity. And tomorrow we are going to deviate off Bertram Thomas's track, and we're going to head north, because we're heading north to a community called Thumreit. And if you've been to Oman, you'll know a little bit about Thumreit, because some other very famous British explorers, other than Bertram Thomas, have passed through Thumreit in search of some amazing things. One of them was called Wilfred Thesiger. One of them was called Sir Ranulph Fiennes. So we're heading north tomorrow to capture some more stories. There'll be UNESCO cropping up in the next few days. There'll be stories of frankincense, and there'll be stories of a world famous, very exclusive brand of perfume. So they're all coming up, and we're heading off tomorrow in search of the stories to share with you in the podcasts upcoming.